Um, we'll forego the agenda for the moment and give the floor to our newly reelected congressman for the 8th District, John Garamendi.
That's very, very kind of you. And for all of you that are on the call here, there you all are. Aha, familiar faces, lots of friends out there. Let me start with this. Thank you. Each and every one of you, thank you so very much. Yes, the election was successful because of you and many, many others. I'm downright excited about the 8th District. Over the last year, as we have found out, what is it, a year and almost 2 months now, what this district would be, traveling through the district, getting to reacquaint myself with all of the elements in it. All of you helped me do that. And I really want to thank you for that. I'm just excited. I'm really excited about what we could do. I was listening to Vice President Harris, who addressed our caucus, the Democratic caucus this morning. And she said she wanted to use the word momentum to describe what we should do for the next 2 years. And I'm going, well, in football, we call that the big mo. And I think it works. I think it works. I've been toying with it all day long, and I'm going, I really think that works, because coming off of the first 2 years, when we did have the House of Representatives and with her vote, the Senate, we really did some great legislation. And now it's the big mo and implementation. How do we keep it going? How do we implement what we have? And as I look at this district, that's why I get excited, because we've laid in place the legislation in the last 2 years, 5 big bills and a host of smaller ones, plus things that were done in the past that are so important to deal with the issues in this district. So, and I can't do it without you. I cannot do any of this without the Democratic Party, without the support that you create in all of the work you do, both within the county, in the various clubs. And as I need your help, obviously for the election, but that one's over. But then to understand the intricacies of the district, the economic, the social, the cultural intricacies, the politics, and you're there, you know it. One final thing, and then I'd love to hear from you and your questions or comments, and I can give you maybe some of the inside scoop dirt on Washington, D.C. But Mike Thompson and I know, Monica, I know exactly what you want. Mike Thompson and I have basically swapped east for west and west for east. There's no other way to describe it. Vallejo, Benicia, and I guess the western parts of Fairfield are now in my district. And of course, Fairfield and Suisun City remain, and just a slither of Vacaville. And Michael takes the Vacaville east. And so it's a big swap. And we're working very, very closely together. I inherited my good fortune. Mel will continue working as he has in Vallejo and Benicia, and then down in Martinez on the Contra Costa side. We're going to our office. We're repurposing our office in Fairfield, same building, a new office. We've been delayed, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks. Flooding, interior flooding. We now have that resolved. And of course, the telecommunications have been delayed also as a result of the floods and the telecom companies having to deal with emergencies all around. But that will open up. We'll also have an office in Richmond. We're looking at how to best deal with Contra Costa County. But we're all geared up. I see Lois is on the call here. I suppose some other of my team is. Bradley Bottoms, I believe, is my chief of staff. There he is. So I think you know most of us. And if you don't, we'll introduce ourselves to you at the appropriate time. and we'll have an open house at our office, and we'll go for it. In the meantime, thank you. So let's go for it. Q&A for a few moments until you've decided that I've talked too long or the questions are not being sufficiently answered.
Well, I think, Congressman, we'll start off with a question that was posed to you. What can we do for Adam Schiff and Congressman Swalwell regarding their being removed from the committee?
Well, what we have, first of all, they're gone. Swallow and they've been removed. It is the jurisdiction of the speaker to do that. In this case, removed without cause, which gives us a cause. And Republicans have handed us a cause, and we will make sure that they pay for it. The words that we're using to describe our Republican colleagues, at least those that we can use in polite company, like this phone, this Zoom message is extreme. And then there are a whole bunch of adjectives and adverbs that would go along with that word extreme. But we will be using that, and this is another example of extremism. Who will replace them? Those are two Democratic seats. It remains to be seen who will be the replacement. But we do know that the Republicans are populating key committees with extremists. And we will be using that over the next 2 years to describe the Republicans. Ilhan Omar is up next. She's been targeted, again, without cause. That, however, will go to a vote on the floor. And I'm probably quoted somewhere, I don't know where it is today, saying that I don't think she will be removed. That's a vote on the floor. And I think that there are some Republicans that do not want to vote for her removal. She's Muslim, she's of color, she's a Somalia immigrant, and there would be a very, very significant blowback. And we'll see what happens. But anyway, that would be a vote of the whole House if that were to happen.
All right. I'm not seeing any other questions in our chat. So if you have a question, please submit it in chat or raise your hand, and we'll call on you to if you want to ask your question verbally. Councilmember Birdseye.
Thank you, Don. And it's good to see you, Congressman. This is Carrie Birdseye from Benicia.
There you are, Carrie.
I'm so happy to see you, and thank you so much for your support in our election here in Benicia. My question to you is, how can we best work with you to get the funding we need from the federal bills that have been, recently passed, without going through the governor's office? Our communities need to address, crumbling infrastructure, climate resiliency, especially those of us that live right on the strait. And so how can we best work with you to get the funding we need to ensure that we have the best roads, the best water and sewer, and the seawalls that we're going to need sooner than later?
Oh, Kara, I like the way you put it. We're going to work together. We had a conversation this morning here in Washington. It followed a team meeting that we had last Friday. We are collecting an encyclopedia of opportunities. It'll be the whole range of opportunities that are in previous laws, as well as in the 5 big laws that are out there: the Inflation Reduction Act, green healthcare, green technologies, healthcare, in the Water Resources Development Act, specifically water systems and the like, transportation, on and on. We will probably have that together in a couple of weeks. And we want that to be your encyclopedia. I can imagine, I can guess, but I will not know sufficiently what your priorities are. And this goes all across the district. I will be working very, very directly with the cities and the counties in the district to share the information. I met with the Contra Costa County supervisors, gave them the same message last week, whatever day it was last week. Monica, I know, will be all over me about the same. So when that is there, read it, thumb through it, dream about the art of the possible, and we'll get to work on it. There are two fundamental pots of money, and then there's subsets. There is the formula-driven money, and that is water resources, development, sanitation, so forth, and certainly in all the transportation programs. That money goes to the state, and it'll be divvied up by formula and by history. Once again, you can lobby the governor, the legislature, and I highly recommend you do. There is some prioritization that will result, particularly on the transportation side. Again, work through the MTC, your Solano Transportation Authority, the MTC, having to do with all of the transportation issues. I want to come back to that, all of this in a moment. The second is the federal programs. Those are most, let's say, grant programs. Some of them are formulary, but most of those will involve advocacy on the part of myself, Mike Thompson, depending upon the nature of the project, and local governments, state governments, all of them lobbying the transportation secretary and department, for example. Same thing on water, Army Corps of Engineers, so forth. Education, all of it. But anyway, you'll have an encyclopedia available to you. The other thing that we do have, and it appears as though it will continue, is community priority projects, otherwise known as, I don't want to use that word. Yeah, we'll just say community priority projects. And these are opportunities that I have as a member of Congress to select specific projects that are important to the communities. These are projects proposed by the community, city council, government agencies of all kinds, and to a lesser degree, 501c3s that are legit and operating in the community. Now, specifically with regard to Benicia, I've been talking to the mayor about a sanitation recycling project. I love those programs, all for it, and made some suggestions about first steps along the way. And so we'll be working on that. Bradley and my team in Washington will vet these. The projects will come up. These, okay, I'll use the word earmarks, will come up through the district office and the team. And so, I don't know, dream, maybe, it might be possible. We'll see. But I have to prioritize also. So we'll keep that in mind.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Bonnie Hamilton, I see your hand up next.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Lowry, and hello, Congressman Garamendi. So nice to see you here. Thank you for joining us this evening. I am aware that in the Farm Bill is up for renewal in 2023 after 5 years. And there's such an opportunity. The contribution of agriculture to greenhouse gas emission is well underestimated by the EPA and really probably accounts for about 25% of our greenhouse gas emissions through methane, through use of fertilizers, nitrogen fertilizers, as well as just soil disruption and poor soil use. I guess my question is, how involved are you with that? What are your thoughts about it? You know, because we have a Republican Congress in charge, it's going to be hard to put climate into the Farm Bill, but there are ways to do it without using those terms. But anyway, I just wanted your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Well, your thinking is very similar to mine. I've spent 10 years 13 years on the Armed Services Committee. The last 4 years as chairman of the Readiness Committee and responsible for the purchase and use of by the largest consumer of petroleum products in the world, the US military. So greenhouse gases are very, very much on my mind. And we, in order to get things done, and we have been very, very successful in this, and we use the word cost savings. Every gallon of fuel that is not purchased is a savings. And it is a reduction in greenhouse gases. And so there are different ways, different languages, and you suggested that, and yes, different languages. Methane can be captured and reused. And so for dairies, there's a major program throughout the United States. In any case, the Farm Bill is going to be really, really important. Probably the last Farm Bill, which is 5 years ago, will be the template. And it was developed at a time when the Republicans were in power in the House and the Senate. And it actually was a pretty good Farm Bill. It dealt with many of the issues you talked about. In fact, the way in which agriculture works goes back decades in trying to improve it. My wife was at the Department of Agriculture in the late 90s. And she was working on no-till, all of the things you talked about. So this is not new. Probably the context will be in energy conservation, which is cost reduction to the farmer. And that'll be out there. There's another major piece of the Farm Bill that will be particularly important in this district, and that is food security issues, school lunch programs, Meals on Wheels, you name it, the California Fresh program, food, used to be food stamps. All of those things are part of the Farm Bill and very, very important. There are several elements in this that we've been working on. Basically, my old district was an agricultural district. And we have a thing called American Food for American Schools. It's basically came out of the organic food industry in the Capay Valley. So there's a series. Here's what I need, Bonnie. I need your help. Feed us. If you got a brownie, that'd be good. I baked some brownies tonight. I just used, a brownie without milk isn't worth it. So I did that just before I got on, but feed me information. And if you want to toss in a brownie or a chocolate chip cookie, I'm here.
I'm happy to, and I'm full of information about it and would love to share it. So maybe I'll reach out to Bradley and see if we can arrange something. And I definitely could supply brownies and milk.
Well, yes.
Milk.
All right.
Either way, whatever it is, work with our district staff also. Lois is there. Debbie Gibbs will continue to be the district director and deputy chief of staff. They'll all be working out of the Fairfield office. So we'll be around. But feed us brownies and information. Chocolate chips will work too.
I mean, all I can say is I think farmers really do want to change their practices. And, you know, the issue is that they're not supported by the present Farm Bill does not incentivize farmers to change their practices to regenerative farming. It does not support them at all. So that's one aspect that could really help. But thank you so much for your
When you send information, be specific about that.
I will. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. John Fox, your hand is up next.
Thank you, Don. Good evening, John. Congratulations. I also would like to thank you for your endorsement. I'm reelected to the Vallejo Unified School District, the school board, as a trustee. And I have two things I want to ask you about. One is with all the gun violence still within the shootings in our schools across the country, the crisis in our nation. But I want to give you a little scenario here in Vallejo. We're always approximately about 18 police short with our police department. So just getting responses and involvement is also a huge issue. So I'm just curious, where is it going? Because it's not ending all this gun violence. And as you know, I also work in a school in Pittsburgh, the other part of your district, and live here and work in Vallejo too. So I'm just, is anything going on to try to address this? And as a school district, school districts can't afford SROs or more security when we're being, with declining enrollment and all other factors, our money is so sparse that it's not a reality to get SROs or more security. We do the best with security we can and trying to think the best way we can, but to protect our students and our staff. But this isn't going away, and what are your thoughts? And then the second one is, I've asked this one of you before, probably a year ago, with special ed funding. Special ed funding has never been funded properly, and the districts always pick up the extra amount that we're not getting. And the special ed, it's just all the money that keeps going and going and going, and then takes out from other areas that we cannot then address. It's just never ending battle. So those are my two questions. Thank you. And also thank you for being here tonight.
Well, congratulations on your victory. And I had a conversation with a fellow that's done 42 special studies for the US government on a whole range of issues. Norm Augustine, former CEO of Lockheed and in the Pentagon and on and on. Been around a long time. He said the most important thing is education. All the rest of it, and this has been my mantra forever. Two things on my mind. The state had a huge surplus. I don't believe the state put sufficient amount of that surplus into education. They spent it on a whole host of things, and I take it, I'm not happy with the governor or the legislature. And now they have a deficit, and they're going to take away what they did or thought they did. That's your problem and mine as a citizen of California. If we fund education well and the educators perform, everything else will turn out. If we fail to do it, we're going to have problems of all kinds. Now, specifically what can be done here with regard to a crime, Mike Thompson and I did a little event in Vallejo last week. And one of Mike Thompson's earmarks was for the police to provide them with a program to assist in identifying gunshots. That presumably will be in place, and that will make the force far too small, but more efficient and more effective in getting to wherever the problem might be of a gunshot. We do have a continuing federal program to fund police. It actually started in the Clinton administration. We'll be talking to in fact, I did talk to the deputy police chief at the event last week, and we'll talk to the chief and his team in the days ahead about federal funding for personnel for police. Once again, we'll have to see what, I want to come to the deficit and how that might work out. But there are some federal programs that are out there to fund police, some new ones as a result of the legislation. That's part of the encyclopedia I was talking about. So I need to be familiar, and I'll make sure that everybody on this call and others are familiar with what is possible. Similarly for education. And so there are certain specific funding programs at the federal level, grant programs. I don't think they're formulary. although special ed is a formula, and it is underfunded. I want to come back to funding in a few moments, but it remains a problem. And as time has evolved over the last 3 decades, I have learned of more and more special ed requirements. Things that we never thought about 20 years ago as being special ed are now special ed. And so that widens the aperture here. And that is part of the funding issue. More and more kids need help. Some of it is modern society. Some of it is things we just didn't think about or even know about 20, 30 years ago. So it is an issue. When the encyclopedia is ready, take a look at it, come back at me. One other thing, the recent shootings in California, 2 of them were done with automatic weapons. One of them for certain was an automatic weapon that's illegal in California. And I was asked today by a reporter, well, you did the first assault rifle law in the nation back in 1989. What do you think? Is there any hope in Washington? And I said, the only hope we have is if we try. He said, well, what do you mean? It's going to lose. The Senate won't do it. You guys did it last year. The Senate didn't. What makes you think they'll do it now? And I said, I believe that we ought to put assault weapons up for a vote every week in Congress and force us all to take a vote every single week. It can be the same, it can be slightly different, but force us to vote. And by the end of a year, we will be tarred and feathered or feathered without the tar for our votes and be held accountable based upon that. We'll see what happens. We may have a way of doing that and just force the issue. Thank you. Look forward to working with you, John. By the way, one of the things in your high school system in Vallejo, same thing over in Contra Costa County. Those 5 pieces of legislation are going to create an enormous amount of jobs for job-ready high school graduates. If we carry out the plans that we presently have for Mare Island shipyards, there could be 1,000 new jobs over there for young kids that are willing to show up at 8 o'clock and work till quitting time. And there'll be somewhere $70,000 starting jobs. And we're going to work with the schools in this district to connect. Love to work
That's
with
incredible. That's incredible. Please let Bradley or your staff contact me. And what we can do is set up with our counselors, the high school advisors and counselors, to make sure students are aware of different pathways. Thank you very much for that information.
One more thing, the admiral that runs the government department for the U.S. Navy is from Vallejo. And Dogala, I think is the right pronunciation of his name. He wants to work with the Vallejo high schools and encourage kids to make a career in the Navy. So we've had 3 different conversations with him, and he'll be coming back through Vallejo. Often his sister lives in Vallejo. His mother, I believe, lives in Suisun City or Fairfield. So he's back and forth, and he will be at your high school, and he'll be recruiting, looking at opportunities for young kids. And same thing, I don't want to exclude, we'll let Mike worry about the East County, but right now we'll go to Suisun City and Fairfield, and I've encouraged him to go there also.
Great.
Okay.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Congressman, but there is one more question that I did want to ask, sent to us by Jeannie White. Why do Republicans seem so intent on weakening the safety net for senior citizens, such as Social Security and Medicare? These positions are so unpopular, so why do they keep pushing them?
They're extremists. They are extremists. Some of them are not very smart. So they're dumb extremists. Who was it? The senator from Florida. He suggested that the senators, Republican senators, run on making Medicare and Social Security renewable every year. He wanted a 5-year sunset for the existing Medicare and Social Security programs, and then it would have to be reauthorized every year. Well, some of his colleagues tried to shut him down, but he continued to talk about it. And now the Republican House has taken that up. And they have said that the price to raise the debt limit is to address Social Security and Medicare. It's been described as a third rail. Don't touch it. But they seem to want to. And we're going, go for it, guys. If you want to take on Medicare and Social Security, go for it. If you want to reform it and make it better, then we have a way of doing it. And I've been one of the principal co-authors of an effort to do that over the last at least 8 years. And we have a piece of legislation that would financially secure both Medicare and Social Security and broaden it. So with benefits and the like. So you asked me why? Well, I just say they're extreme. And this debt limit issue is an opportunity for them to attempt to enact their extremism. And so it's going to be a knockdown, drag out fight. It's one that ultimately, if they persist, we will win, and it will help us take back the House. Because Americans, as you said, don't want that. And if you take a look at who votes in Florida, you would never want to be a politician taking on Medicare and Social Security. But nonetheless, they seem to want to do that. Let them try. I think I'll end it there. I can go on for some time. I want to periodically, as suits your schedules, be available to you. And Zoom calls, very efficient for me, and I hope for you, and an opportunity for us to spend more time than would otherwise be available traveling back and forth across this country. Does consume.
Congressman, I hate to interrupt you, but there is one hand, it's one hand we can't ignore. It's Supervisor Brown.
You're right about ignoring.
I just wanted to follow up that Solano Community College does have the Vallejo site, and we do have a top of the of automotive. And I brought people from Mare Island over that we could use that facility to help do everything that you talked about. So I don't want you to forget us, as I was a trustee there, but that we can bring our kids from the high school over, see what we can do. But I just didn't want you to forget the community college. That was it.
I would never forget anything that you were involved in. And if I did, you would immediately remind me, as you could and should. I'm going to just toss out one thing. I'll try to do it in 90 seconds. This district has all 5 of Northern California's oil refineries. They're going to transition. And there's probably 30,000 very high paid jobs associated either directly or indirectly with the refineries. We have a major effort underway with the Assembly and Senate members, as well as my colleagues, to try to figure out how to transition and how to do it. One idea that I am pursuing is the creation of the bio-ag research and biomanufacturing corridor, stretching from the University of California, Davis Medical Campus in Sacramento, actually on Interstate 80. Did I say I-5? I mean Interstate 80 corridor, right down through Vallejo, Fairfield.
Just one second, because Brad, John, we have that. We have the biotech at the Vacaville campus, and we have the 4-year degree program. We are set. We just need some money to expand. You were preaching to the choir, my friend. That is something that happened on my watch. So I hear you. We need to do it. I agree with you. Just tell us what we need to do. We will be there.
Well, I want you to think about how we do this transition. Obviously, Solano County has the refinery in Benicia and the other refineries, but we have an opportunity. This is biotech. It's fuels, it's pharmaceuticals, it's fibers of all kinds. It is a growing and it's a new industry. And as it goes to manufacturing, it will need those people that you're training. And as it's doing the research and the startups, they need the people that you're training. And so, yes, I'm aware of it, and it fits perfectly. And the research at UC Davis, UC Berkeley, UCSF feeds into this. And it is a growing opportunity. Vacaville at the 505 and the 80 junction is building a biotech center. We're also looking at building one in Richmond. I'm not sure how Vallejo will fit into it, but it's nearby and it could. But there's some real opportunities here, and we need the education for that. So as we look at these future, it is exactly what you did, Monica, and it is there. It is a very significant opportunity. It's also an international opportunity. Other nations, China and Europe, are actually ahead of us. And so we're trying to push this forward. A lot of things are on the agenda. We're not going to cover all of them tonight. I will see many of you on the road. We'll be in and out of the district several times a month. And when I'm there, I look forward to it. We will certainly invite you to the headquarters opening in Fairfield. And we may even be able to do one in Vallejo. Let's go for it. The encyclopedia will be along shortly. In the meantime, you may be able to access some of it online for your own interest and the rest. My team, as I say, Lois is on the phone. Debbie Gibbs will continue to run the operation. Mel is on board. Harpreet Singh in Richmond office. Tyler Wilson and Orgel. Lois. If I missed anybody, Lois, shout out. But I think I've covered most of them. Jackie also. I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you so very much, Don, for the opportunity to be on the call. Look forward to the next time out and seeing you individually. By the way, we're going to do the same with the clubs in the area. We'll be reaching out to the clubs, Zooming, so I'll catch some of you there. Thank you all. I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you very much, Congressman. I appreciate you taking the time to meet with us tonight.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. That we will return to the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
we actually have someone on called Zoom user. They have a photo. I'm not sure who they are. Do you know this person? Hi, ma'am. Could you unmute?
She's part of Garamendi's staff.
Okay. We just like to have a name.
I'm Lois Krause with Congressman Garamendi's team.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I need to unmute. Jumping back to our agenda. Other than our congressman and his staff, don't see. If there are any guests who wish to be recognized, if you'd please raise your hand. Not seeing any hands up. So we will move on to the land acknowledgement. And if you could pull that up, Tom, and then present it for us, I would appreciate that. And if you would be so kind as to read it for us, Tom.
Sure. This is a land acknowledgement. We pause to acknowledge that Solano Democratic Central Committee of the Democratic Party sits on the land of the Miwok and the Patwin people. We remember their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them for allowing us to live, work, learn, and pray in their traditional homelands. We offer our respect to their elders and the Miwok and the Patwin people of the past and present.
Thank you. And I was notified that one of our members did not actually get sworn in last year. So I want to get that done before we move on. So if you could pull up the oath, that we can swear Karen in. And if any one else has not been sworn in, would you please raise your hand? We'll add you to the swearing in.
I believe I'm sharing it, right?
Okay. I, Karen Rogers, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter, and during such time as I hold the office of chair of the Rio Vista Democratic Club.
Right. And Yvonne, who I believe is your alternate,
Right.
if you want to go ahead and
I,
read the oath as well.
Camper, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter, and during such time as I hold the office of Vice Chair of the Rio Vista Democratic Party.
All right. Thank you both. And Yvonne's last name is Camper, if I remember correctly.
Right.
I would encourage you, as well as others who have not already done so, just rename yourselves so that your full name is showing. It helps our secretary keep the minutes correctly as he reviews the recording. All right. The next items I have on is to approve the minutes and agenda. There is an addition on the minutes to approve both the October 22nd and November 30th agenda minutes. So yes, Camper, you have it correct, Corey. So if do we have polls for both of those, Tom, or just the October?
Let me make a quick modification and we'll have a poll for both.
Okay. Appreciate that.
So you want to consider them in separate or in all together as one?
Let's do them separately.
Okay, so just so you know, there'll be two questions on the poll, one for the minutes for November,
November 30th.
and one for October.
Yeah. So, I will entertain the motion for both of those. Someone will make that motion, please.
I move that we approve the November 30 minutes. You need two separate motions. You want to do them together?
You can probably make both motions
Okay, then I also move that we approve the October 26 minutes.
This is
Second.
Lynette, and I second that.
for both.
Yes.
Okay. So we have our motions and second for both items. John, was your hand up to second or did you have?
It
a
was to
comment?
make the motion a second, yes. That's why I
All
had my
right.
hand up.
Thank you. Well, I think we're good. So if you would kindly vote. On those, and I want to thank Corey for his diligence in getting the minutes for both meetings prepared, and then following up to make sure you had the PDF copy of the October this evening when there was an issue with the original email. And
So only 22 people, now 23 people have voted. I think, is that, yeah, we got one. Yeah, I think
I
that's
know-
all. That is all we need. Yes, I
Yeah.
believe. Right?
yeah, because we have a few non-voting
Alternate.
alternates with us tonight.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and end it. Sharing the results. So both motions pass.
Moving on to the agenda, obviously we already had the change of hearing from Congressman Garamendi and adding the second minutes to the agenda. In addition, I want to adjourn the meeting in memory of Fairfield Mayor Harry Price and former County Board of Education trustee Maureen Bates, who both passed away since our last meeting. Some of you may know Maureen Bates was also a former recipient of the Wyman Riley Award from the Central Committee for her countless hours volunteering even after she was elected to office, which doesn't usually happen. So we'll be asking you to adjourn and their memories tonight. Are there any other additions or changes to the minutes? Monica, your hands up.
Yeah, I was wondering, I believe that Jimmy Jackson, the former president of the NAACP, I believe he was a Democrat. I believe
Yes,
so.
I believe
If
he
we could-
was.
If
My
we
That's
could
memory-
add his
correct.
name, because he just passed away also.
That's correct. I didn't raise my hand, but that's correct.
And that's, if I remember correctly, Mr. Jackson spelled his first name Jimmie
That is correct.
with the minutes, so if we could make sure his name is spelled correctly.
Yeah, thank you.
I actually had the honor of working with Mr. Jackson on both Fred Bailey's campaigns for sheriff way back when, so it's a small world. Are there any other additions to or changes to the agenda? Seeing any hands up? In that case, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. John,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
thank you. And Tom, second. All those in favor? please vote.
Harry Price. Oh, good, you put it in. Never mind.
So if I hit submit. Has everyone voted yet?
We are still lacking a few votes, but we've got 21 now.
I would encourage you to vote. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and close the poll in a few seconds.
We're actually at 1:30, so I'll go ahead and close it. Now we've got 22 people voting. Okay. Motion passes.
Thank you all. It is 7:53. I'm opening public comment for any of our guests who wish to speak. Comments are limited to 2 minutes. So if any of our guests wish to make a comment at this time, please raise your hand. I am not seeing any hands up. Again, not seeing any hands up, so closing public comment at 7:53. Do we have any announcements that anyone wishes to make at this time? Again, please raise your hand if you have any announcements. Okay, seeing none, moving on to our treasurer's reports. Monica, you're up. I mean, Paula.
Thank you. So Corey sent out the treasurer's report earlier today. It's actually as of last week, because I had to do one before the fundraising committee, and we haven't done much since then, so it's pretty accurate. We have a total of about $3,600. We still have an outstanding bill for the door hangers, and we're very close to being able to cash the $2,700 double good check. And I would like to make a motion to reimburse Dawn $245 for the cost of the food at the holiday dinner. Anyone care to second that?
I second it.
Thank you. You know what, Tom, it occurs to me I should have told you I was going to do that so you could do a poll.
I got a poll that I can revamp real quick.
Awesome. Well, while he's doing that, let me remind you guys, your 460s are due at the end of this month. And there are a few of you alternates, but no one who's here tonight who hasn't paid their 22 dues, and the 23 dues aren't due until April 1. The other thing that I had included in that in the treasurer's report was a sort of cobbled together budget for some general expenses. And I included the one that I did back in 2019. So in 4 years, our costs have gone up a lot. But you guys should take a look at that. You know, the one thing I forgot on the 23 budget, and the reason that we started charging dues in the first place, was because we were going to have to start paying for meeting space. And I did not include that in the 23 budget. I forgot about it, but it's in the 2019 budget. We were going to get the room at the event center there by the county building for $52 a month. So that's another $500 or so we should include in that budget. Anyone have any questions?
This is Lynette. I'm on my phone, so I don't know how to, I can't get to my reactions. So, Mr. Chair, can I be recognized?
Yes.
Okay. If we're gonna start, do we have to go off of Zoom? This seems to be working. It seems like we get more people this way. And maybe somewhere along the line, we do maybe a quarterly in-person meet, and that would also reduce the cost of having to pay for a location, because our Zoom cost is significantly less than our meeting cost. That's it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you for that. Corey asked, Paul, if you could just state the balances in the state and federal accounts for the minutes.
Oh, the federal account balance is $2,820.28. And the state balance is $873.65 for a total of $3,693.93.
All right, thank you.
I have that poll ready.
Awesome.
If you could launch the poll then. And referring to the earlier comment about meeting via Zoom versus in person, I think that's certainly a topic to be discussed at the strategic planning meeting about our options moving forward. I know that people have strong opinions on both sides of the issue.
Motion passes. And there we go.
Awesome. Don, you're going to get paid. Yay. That's
Well,
my report.
Reimbursed, I would say. Moving on to officers' reports.
A quick question, if I may, Chair, just to back to Paula. You said something about something was due in February of 460 or something like that. I did not quite understand what that is, Paula.
It's for the clubs. Clubs and candidates have to file FPPC reports, and most clubs do 2 a year, one for the first half of the year and one for the second half of the year. So the report for the last half of 2022 is due at the end of this month. But that's, I mean, unless you were a candidate or you're a club treasurer, it doesn't really affect you much.
Right. And actually, that's kind of stealing my thunder. I did want to remind all of our clubs that part of being chartered in the first place was to have established yourself as a committee with the FPPC, and that obligates you to file at least twice a year. And I would really rather avoid us having to be in the news for having clubs not file. And the same goes for any of our candidates or electeds who still have open committees and have not terminated them. You're also due to file your semi-annual report January 31st. So please get it done in a timely fashion, and we would appreciate that. The rest of my report, since our holiday party, I was able to attend the swearing in of our newest supervisor, Wanda Williams. That was a good event to attend, and unfortunately also had the duty to attend the memorial service for Mayor Price, which was well attended. and both a somber and emotional occasion, as a lot of fond memories were shared about the mayor. And as soon as we have information about a memorial service for Maureen Bates, we will share that. And I hope that if we have information from Mr. Jackson, that will be shared with us as well, for those who would wish to attend. And other than that, we had our in-person voting for our ADEMs. We had, I believe, 37 ballots actually cast in person. I don't know how many hundred were cast by mail, but thanks to all of you that participated, whether as a candidate or as a voter, in electing delegates to the state convention. And for those of you who may not have been successful, well, you can hope to be a proxy or seek an appointment with one of our elected officials. And if none of those are successful, you can attend as an observer. So as information comes out about our conventions and other events, we will share that with you as soon as possible. The first convention this year will be, I believe, May 25th or 26th through 28th, right before Memorial Day, and in LA is my understanding. And then tentatively, we will have a second nominating convention or endorsing convention in November. And that is tentatively scheduled for Sacramento, but that's still tentative at this time. So those of you who are delegates, be aware that we have 2 conventions to attend this year. And that's all I have for the moment. Moving on to our Northern Vice Chair, do you have a report?
Good evening. Don, I'm just going to mention about what we had a meeting for fundraising. Of course, I'm always trying to raise money, but we had a meeting about fundraising. We thought of a couple of ideas that we're going to explore. We're looking at an outdoor venue because of, and so we're looking in spring. We're looking at the weekend of either May 13th or May 20th. But right now we have people looking at venues such as Dan Foley, Mare Island, Park on Mare Island, Peanut Adobe, and Allenwood Park. And when we get more information, we'll send out an email with an invite. So it's open for anyone that's on the committee to be a part of this fundraising committee. But that's where we are now. We're still in the brainstorming phase of it. The recommendations that we've had was a chili cook-off, a barbecue, breakfast for dinner, and pasta feed. And part of our issues that we're looking at is that we're looking for a venue with a commercial kitchen. So that's where we stand now. We haven't set a ticket price or a location yet, but we are working on a fundraiser to be ready for the 2024 election cycle. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Secretary, do you have anything to report other than the minutes?
I am good to go. Thank you.
Okay, Information Resource Officer.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I will be sending out a report. In February, we'll need to make a decision about possibly changing our provider for our email and other such things to a different company that would give us a cost savings for meetings, to use something other than Zoom to get one cost for both our email accounts and online storage and everything else under one umbrella that would also include our meetings. That would not be Google like we're using right now. So that'll be coming out once I have the plan in place that we can look at and approve for transition. So that will we'll have that in February to look at on the agenda and make a decision as a committee.
All right, thank you. Parliamentarian,
Okay, you all can hear me, yes?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And I'm going to also do my quick regional director. You've already touched on a lot of it. So as your parliamentarian, the information officer sent to all the clubs, it's time to renew your charter with the Central Committee. And it's very simple. I bulleted out the few things that you have to turn in. Know that the bylaws committee will be looking at possibly changing the recertification or re-upping you as a club to have a more stringent guidelines. You should have at least the minimum guidelines that it took for you to be chartered. That's not required now. So the bullets, I think, is like 3 things that you have to turn in. So that's one thing as your parliamentarian, and the clubs need to get that in. I think you have until the week before our next meeting, and the bylaws committee will look at review and make sure that all those pieces are in. And it was brought to my attention that the club committee that was putting together the handbook had submitted that to the bylaws committee, and it just kind of got lost. So we will also be looking at that to send forward our recommendation on that once we review it. And I think that's about it for the bylaws and the parliamentarian. As your regional director, I just want to let you know I will not be running for re-election. I think I've done it 8 to 10 years, and I think that's plenty of time. I hope I made a difference as your regional director to kind of get us back on track of being big D's and not a lot of infighting that has occurred in our central committees over the time. And so I think we're being much more productive. I want to thank Margie Olson for being the convener for AD 11. Don Lowry, Vernil, and Paula were the 4 that I saw before I left. I had to open the Cordelia office for voting and the Concord office for voting. And CTA was very instrumental in working with the party to give us both of those locations. We've pretty much always used our office, our CTA office, for the ADIM elections, and it works out. And this was the first time that I used the Concord office, and it really worked out well too. As you said, I think there were 36 votes that were done in person on Sunday, and I think Concord for 8015 only had like 39. So I'm not sure exactly how many ballots were requested, nor do I know the number of ballots that were submitted by mail prior to well, they haven't, I think, until the 30th or 31st to really get their mail-in ballots in. I'm not sure what other volunteers showed up on Sunday, but without your help, this process could not have happened and done. And I have to say that my region, for Region 2, we have rarely had any challenges to our elections because everybody is so pristine in the work that they do to ensure that those ballots are done right, that the process is very transparent. So I want to thank you all for that. But again, I will not be running for regional director again. And so it's been a great ride. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I think it's time to allow someone else in our region to have that opportunity to serve us. So thank you. I think that's it. Any questions?
Glenn, I see your hand up.
Hi there, Glenn with Solano Democratic Workers Alliance. I just wanted to extend a huge thank you to Lynette for all the work that she did on this process, navigating it, not just of making sure, local party resources were deployed for these critical elections. She'll also not tell you because she's humble and it's outside of this county's jurisdiction, but she also went above and beyond to facilitate greater access to voting in neighboring counties such as Napa. And so I think that was very representative of democratic values, and really thank Lynette for her service there.
Thank you for those kind words. Yeah, people don't get 84, which is an arc. It starts in Napa and finishes in Yolo. It goes up to Lake County, Colusa, and Yolo. And they didn't get it initially, and so they only wanted one spot. And when I said, look at a map, they're like, oh, we get it. So we got the people from Calistoga, that side, all the way down St. Helena, Napa, and a couple of lake people. So thank you guys for coming out for that too. Thanks for the kind words.
Yeah. And that said, I have no doubt that we'll certainly forward any critiques you might have had of this cycle's ADM process to the state party. So feel free to email Lynette or myself with your complaints, but phrase it politely and tactfully, please. Moving on to elected officials' reports. I don't recall seeing any come in via email, so let me just, we of course heard from Congressman Garamendi. Is there anyone reporting for Congressman Thompson tonight? Okay. Senator Dodd, we have a report for him.
I don't believe his rep is here.
Okay. Assembly Member Wilson, do we have a report from her? Anyone reporting for her? I'm not seeing hands up. Okay. Our supervisor present, who Monica, Steve Young, your hands up. You're on mute. You're still on mute, Steve.
Actually, he's not on mute. He's not, you just can't hear him.
Okay, well.
And
I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear you. Okay, apparently there's a connection problem there. Is anyone hearing Mary Young? All right.
Steve, is your computer itself maybe muted?
I think he's working with some wounded wings there.
Apparently we're not having luck. You may need to cycle out and cycle back in. Supervisor Brown, did you have anything you had to report?
Nothing at this time. Most of you get my newsletter, so we're pretty up to date.
Okay.
How about that? Is that better?
Now we can hear you? Yes.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Two things of note in Benicia. Last night, the council had a long and difficult discussion around the housing element. There was a pretty full room of people wanting us not to proceed on the path we were, but we had a deadline of January 31st to get it approved and submitted to the state. And so we went ahead and did it. And I'm happy to say we had a unanimous vote at the council to go ahead and do that, even though a number of our supporters were very much in favor of us not proceeding and not providing zoning for as much housing as we did. The second thing has to bad news that our city manager, Eric Upson, announced his retirement. And Eric has been a great city manager, and he's leaving a big hole that will be difficult to fill. He's accomplished a lot of things. He's started a lot of things that have yet to come to fruition. The council will be making a appointment of an interim city manager before the end of February, which is when Eric is leaving to take a job that was too good to pass up in the private sector. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do any of our other elected officials have anything that they urgently wish to report out this evening? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands up. Again, I do want to remind all of our elected officials and representatives to submit a written report whenever possible so that people can read it at their leisure. Moving on to the clubs, Community Democratic Club, do you have a report this evening?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just a quick report. We have been reimagining our executive board, I guess is the way to say it. So we did postpone our meeting for the month of January, but we do have a scheduled speaker for February. We are concerned with the status of African Americans, the vote, especially in the city of Vallejo. And Tiffany Jones, our Southern Regional Vice Chair, will be presenting to us kind of where we are, what positions will soon be open in the next voting cycle, and what we need to do to specifically engage the African American community in the voting process. And that will be, and I'm trying to pull up the data as I speak, February 21st at 7 p.m. And we'll send an announcement out so it can be shared with the Central Committee.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Jewish Democratic Club, do you have a report this evening?
Not much to update. We're working on an event that's still in the it's still in the cut, and we're developing a community outreach event that our members are actively putting together. It's a little too soon to go into it here, but we look forward to having more to say next month.
All right, thank you. We did receive written reports from Northern Solano and Progressive Dems. So Rio Vista Democratic Club, do you have a report for us?
Yes, we submitted a written report. Well, I can kind of just give you an overview. We had a strategic meeting for the board to look at plans that we have for fundraising and for supporting candidates for 2023. We've just completed the overall review of our annual programs that were completed during the year 2022. We sent out notification to our constituents, to our membership regarding the ADEM voting, and participated with that to make sure that they were up to date, that they knew what it was and what transpired and how to vote and where to vote. And basically that's it. We have a meeting set for February, which we will have our executive board look at the issues regarding fundraising and the programs that we're planning for this year. Thank you.
Great. Sankofa Democratic Club, you have a report this evening?
No report, thank you.
All right. Solano Democratic Workers Alliance, you have a report this evening?
Yes, hi everyone. Glenn Lovell here, president of Solano Democratic Workers Alliance. Just wanted to once again extend thanks to all members of the party who are active in helping to administer the ADEMS process and doing our best with available people and resources moving forward in the vital coming 2 years and represent the party in the region. We'll be doing some strategic updates of our own, and also anticipating and looking forward to the strategic summit or strategic retreat being undertaken by the Central Committee. In the meantime, our next general meeting, next rotation will be in March. The nature of it will, of course, be talking about substantive issues at the intersection of course, progressives, all different Democratic Party and labor. If you're looking, of course, for a time to be discussing issues, policy, while also just getting to know people and having some social time together. That date is anticipated for March 28th. There we'll have strategy sessions in February, but the big social session and big updates for the year will occur in March, following, of course, and in some ways informed by the strategic updates from this committee over the course of February. And that would conclude my report.
All right, thank you. Stonewall.
Yeah, we will be meeting at the first part of February. We had an issue with our meeting in January, but we'll be meeting the first half of January. February, to start out what we're going to be doing this next year and how we're going to be helping to move the Democratic cause in Solano County for LGBTQ members.
Thank you. And United Dems, I believe your written report did go out to everyone. So again, I want to encourage all of our clubs to submit a written report, and I certainly look forward to being invited to attend your club meetings as they occur. Moving on to our business, the next item is the committee reorganization. We have 4 standing committees that could be full of members and not just the few people who've been doing the work. So bylaws and rules, finance, fundraising, and technology. I'd like to encourage signups. And Tom, were you able to set up the sign up link we had talked about?
I do have one almost finished. It'll be going out after this meeting.
Okay.
For people to sign up for those committees before our strategic meeting.
So I would
so we'll send it out this week.
I would encourage sign up for our standing committees. Also, there are 2 ad hoc committees that are currently approved moving forward. The Club Coordination Committee, which I've asked Jeannie White to continue to chair, to work with having our many clubs working together on a peer-to-peer basis and finding ways that they can achieve our common goals, and our legislation committee, which will be spinning back up as legislation is being introduced at the state and federal level. The other ad hocs we are setting aside because, quite frankly, we had entirely too many zombie committees where committees had not met for many months, if not years, or we're down to 1 or 2 members. So until there is an active need and we come back with full membership, we'll not be having committees just to have committees. So I believe those committees will be included on that link. So I encourage you to sign up for those, because we can move forward with those committees. Your participation is important to us on those committees to make sure that there's a wide spectrum of representation. Moving on to the business item, we already heard a lot about the what's tentatively being planned for our fundraising committee, but I will just kind of echo what was being said earlier, that we're looking at an outdoors event this year due to the continuing concerns with COVID and other illnesses that are floating about. So it'll be a little later than usual. I believe the next fundraising committee meeting is, well, Vernell, what is the next date of the next fundraising committee? You're muted.
January 31st.
January 31st. I would encourage you, if you're at all interested, to join that meeting and give your thoughts because we will be planning, hopefully not just that event, the outdoor event, but potentially our awards dinner and other fundraising events so that we can meet the budget that Paula laid out for us earlier, in addition to our other planned expenses. So please sign up for that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to let people know everyone should be getting a calendar notification for these meetings going forward. So please take a look at that. If you want to attend, go ahead and just accept it, and it'll be on your calendar, and it will remind you of when the meeting is. If you don't want to attend, you can go ahead and decline it. But we will be sending, per our bylaws, all meetings, the meeting invite out to all of the committee, because that is, we have to inform you, and that is our way of informing people. So we'll be setting up those for all of the committees going forward, so that they can know about it.
And I would encourage you again to click on the reminders, even if you don't plan on attending regularly, so that you do get those notices coming through from Zoom when the meetings are happening. And can join when you wish to, but we can certainly use you. The strategic planning session we have scheduled for February 18th at the Solano County Event Center, which is the old county library where we had our holiday party. Meeting is scheduled to begin at 10 o'clock. And in a nutshell, our plan is to look at where we want to take the Central Committee and the party over the next 2 years as we get ready to keep the White House, keep the Senate, reclaim the House, and elect good Democrats here in Solano County. We had a wide-ranging discussion at our e-board. There will be many topics being discussed. One of the concerns that I know was expressed is the need for us all to do much more outreach into the community and broaden our base of activists and potential volunteers and ultimately, hopefully, potential candidates. So encourage you all to participate in that meeting if you can. It will be an in-person meeting, and bring your ideas. And if you don't have the opportunity to attend in person, I encourage you to email us ahead of time with some of your thoughts and suggestions on where you would like to see us go over the next election cycle. And to my fellow e-board members, anything you want to add to that comment?
Paula Bauer has her hand up.
Paula.
Yeah, Tom had just reminded me of this in the chat, that we probably need to approve some money to spend in advance for the strategic planning meeting. And I'm thinking we might want to provide people with lunch. And based on what we just, well, I'm not sure, because I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be out of town. So I don't even know what the hours are. Is it going to be over lunch?
It may well be over lunch. I suspect we're not going to be wrapping up in less than 2 hours. So it's a wise idea.
Okay, so based on what it cost us for dinner for the holiday party, I'm going to move that we approve up to $250 for you to spend for costs for the strategic planning meeting. Is there a second?
This is Carrie. I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think Tom is doing a poll for us.
Okay. That certainly seems reasonable. to provide at least some refreshments. That way we won't be hangry by the end of the meeting and coming up with rather extreme ideas. So is that ready to go? Tom, Bonnie, your hand's up.
Yeah, just a quick question. How long do you think this meeting will go for? I believe both Vernil and I have a meeting at exactly the same time, and I think we could try to change the time, but do you have a feel for how much time you've allotted for that meeting?
Honestly, I have not completed roughing out the agenda, but I don't expect it to go too deep into the afternoon. I suspect we will be into the afternoon, probably mid-afternoon at the latest. I would tentatively say hopefully no later than 3.
That makes sense.
If we can be done before that, so much the better. Well, thank you, folks, for approving that. Are there items from the floor? Okay. I've not seen.
Don,
Yes.
just one thing, just so people know, there will be 2 links coming out. One for the committee sign up and one to reaffirm your, not reaffirm, that's the wrong word, to get your latest mailing address and information for the committee. That will be coming out this week. So please be on the lookout for that. And that will go to elected members and ex officio members. You will be required to get the information about your alternates to plug in for that. So just an FYI on that.
Yeah, we do want to thank you for reminding me. We do want to update our our subcommittee roster with current contact information for all the members and alternates. So again, when you see that, please fill it out. We would appreciate that. I also want to encourage our clubs as they go through their charter renewal process, and as they finish electing, there are new officers, for those who've not yet completed the process, to update us with their club presidents and their club representatives so that we are sending that information to the correct people. We want to make sure that you are all engaged in the process. And with that, unless anyone has anything else for the good of the order, I will entertain a motion to adjourn in memory of Maureen Bates, Jimmy Jackson, and Harry Price.
So moved.
Okay. For a second.
Second, Brown seconds.
All right, folks. As we adjourn the meeting, we'll take a moment of silence while you are voting in memory of those public officials. Thank you all, and we'll see you on the 18th, unless I happen to show up at your club.
Good night, everybody.
We are officially adjourned.
All right.
Good night, Mary Ellen. Good night, John.
Thanks for setting everything up as always, Tom.